Well, hello there, all you amazing people. Today we are going to look into this little application here. It's mounting the good old Windows ISO. We're going to make a Windows distribution, basically customize almost everything, but we're not going to do it. I'm going to showcase this application so you can do it yourself. You should only do this if you know what you're doing. If you have never done anything like this before, I will not recommend. This is a tool built for professionals, meant for professionals. That don't mean you can't do it. It just means that if you are going to use this or do something like this, you need to educate yourself. And it's not something you could do in a 30-minute video or a 5-minute Reddit post read or what it is. You have to actually apply yourself. So this could be a long video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all this jazz. This is going to take a long time. I am on a laptop. It will probably go fast if I plug it into the power. What you can do here while it's mounting the disk, I already set this up. You can see I have a save here. You need to know how to download Windows, of course, a Windows ISO. Go onto the Windows website, and it's so easy that I'm not going to show you how to do it, because like I said, this is not a tool meant for everyone. It's not meant for Joe in his basement that wants to just like, for funsies, make a Windows distribution. It's also not meant for people that want to make a Windows distribution and then put it onto whatever store and try and sell it, because that's illegal. However, you can make a Windows distribution for yourself if you want. Let's say you have a fleet of Lenovo laptops at work, or let's say your kids, yourself, your spouse, your parents, your whole family are using kind of the same setup to some degree. You can use this where it has all the drivers pre-installed, most of the software pre-installed you want, etc., and you can install it on those machines. And then they get activated with the machines on the machine activation keys, because a lot of computers have that nowadays. They have the license built into the BIOS, and you can actually set this up to retrieve that license key. And that means that if it's the same version of Windows, let's say it's Windows Home, this is professional, but if they all come Windows Home, it will automatically be activated via the setup. So there's a little bit of there's a lot of caveats going into this. Most of the things we're doing here, you can do via the command line, or you can do in settings or edits on your machine right now. And you can do way more than the mass minorities of so-called experts are telling you that you cannot do or can do with Windows. You will be surprised how much customization you can have over Windows. I'm not trying to be an idiot about it. I'm trying to protect you, okay? Because you can royally F up your system if you don't know what you're doing. So now we have all the systems here, and it's a little bit hard to see what's actually need to move my cam, apparently. So give me a second. It's fall, so we have cloudy, so it's either bright, like a fucking X-ray, not X-ray, but an atomic bomb just went off, or it's dark and gloomy, and it goes for like minute by minute like that. It's Denmark. But yeah, you can see here I just mounted the already customized ISO that I made, and every time you make one, it will save it out here, and you give it different names, so you can have a save for Lenovo, HP, or server, workstation, accountant computer, kids computer, whatever it is. It is going to take some time to download the ISO and stuff like this. Is the non-commercial, free, limited, non-commercial version, which will do 98% of what a consumer wants to do. If you're going to deploy this via, the Azure services or for a company and stuff like that, you probably want the license, and it's not super expensive. But let's dive into what these different segments over here means, and then you can kind of have a sneak peek of how I set up a typical Windows ISO that I do once a year at the end, like mid to the end of the year, that I then use for I don't use it for commercial use. I use it for private use, and let's say a friend at work needs to have his computer set up for his home. You get what I'm coming at here. The first section here, like we do the start, you just select your ISO, you double click it to mount it, blah blah blah, Bob Shong, it should be self-explanatory. We have integrate, we have updates here. So here you see all of the things that are existing packages. This is all the stuff that's already there. And you can here get drivers and whatnot. You click Add, Latest Online Updates. You click that one there. I said click. It will go and search the latest update. You can see what's missing and not missing. What I typically do every time I make one of these, I just select everything. It looks at your installed version also. So it's thinking that you want to install this ISO on this computer. So you see here there's some development stuff here that you may not want to take off. But you can just enable everything and it will download these updates. Cumulative updates I will take off. .NET frameworks I will take on. On. App and features you can take off if you want to see. I have some Green Guard. I also should have some subsystem for Linux. You may not want that. Others I will take them on. Suggested I will take them on. What it does, it allows you to basically, up till the point you make this ISO, you will have all the latest updates. So you don't install Windows, then you have to sit and wait for like 10,000 stupid updates. But again, I already done that, so we can remove that one. And it will show you here what the updates are. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. So again, here it looks at my computer. I can see what drivers I have. And you can see the one that's missing. So again, let's say you have this is a Lenovo E14, Gen 6, I think it is. Let's say you have a T14, Gen whatever they're up to right now, with the specific customization you made on the Lenovo store, or HP, or Dell. And you have 5, 6, 10 of those. You can pre-download, pre-install, pre-add drivers from file or dictionary, directory and stuff like that. And I think you can actually go in here and you can add it by double-click and stuff like that. But anyway, you can pre-install the drivers. NVIDIA driver, whatever it is. So you don't have to sit and wait for Windows updates to do it, or you go on to NVIDIA site and update. You get basically all your drivers running. So I had the case where I had a laptop. I can't remember if it was my Dell. I think it was my Dell, where the Wi-Fi card did not get installed just via the normal Windows install, doing the normal Windows install, even if it was connected to the internet. I had to physically, wait to log in with my Microsoft account, log into Windows itself after the install to get the latest driver, because I had to wait for Windows Up to download the driver. You can do that here. You can add that driver here. So when Windows is installing from the ISO, putting it into your hard drive or your SSD, it will already have the drivers that are critical for you to, Wi-Fi working out of the bat. And this is where I will say, for every home user out there, don't fuck around in here. This is a place where you just be like, tiptoe out of here. Of course, I'm being a little bit facetious, dubious here, but this is the registry edit. You can go in here, you can even change power plans, you can do like system, machine software, and stuff like that. You go in, you can see what it's set up to. But it's the registry. You could do integrated registry files and edit hives. Don't fuck around in here. Okay? Just, even professionals, I would say, like, you should probably have taken a course somewhere where you have like a certificate that say I'm allowed to fuck around with Windows kind of thing. I don't even fuck around in here, even though I know some of it. But I've just seen so many people go into the registry and it says one value, and now they get bombarded with attacks, malware, or some things don't work. They're like, oh my god, I got like 10 more frames in a game, or this thing worked, but now their video editing don't work anymore. Discord is acting up or something like that. Post setup before login. Again, here you can download the program you want to install, or the software you want to install post logon needs to have install a variable called unintended update or unintended install. So Firefox have that. Chrome has that. Actually, a lot of software don't have it, but a few of the big software suites, they have this called unintended installer. And you need to go onto the website and find set unintended installer. Let's see if I can find one for, let's say, Chrome. So here they have something called Chrome for Enterprise. If you could look Chrome unintended installer, and they have like an MSI packages, they need to have that available. Because it's basically like unintended, self-explanatory. Installs the program for you. And you can do some settings in some config files to make these programs, customizable for you, but they will install it for you before you will log in. Like before you do your login thing. The same with after login. Add files dictionary of the English run task once at the end of a Windows setup. You can do commands, again, files, add files to the image. So let's say you have your favorite wallpaper collection. In here you can say put all my anime wallpapers into the picture directory of the creative user, so it's already there. You can imagine what you can do here. Like it's almost limitless. But if you want to install software, run a command, you need to know that the software needs to be able to be installed unattended. You also need to be aware that some things just can't be done without you be logging in. And you can do the same after login. So let's say you have a script that sets the corporate wallpaper, or you need the username, like the physical username, to add to a service so they can access a NAS drive or something like that. So after the creator the user created their username, then after login, it check that username and then attach that with a password so you have access to the NAS, or add it to a database or what. You can go nuts here, okay? Here, this is probably the one that you're going to go nuts about. It just warned you that some things you can remove. So this is like components. Add remove components. And we can look a little bit into apps, for example, here. You may not want dev homes. Why do I need that? I'm not a developer. You can remove that. So this one here is a new install. I just realized this right now. If you go into images here, I didn't activate this one. This is the one that I did. So there's no configs, because it will tell you out here how many configs that you have out here in the side. So this is actually a really, really good. This is not a really, really good indicator of how a stock ISO will look like. I can't see if I can. At the end, I will mount my configuration. We can maybe look into that. I don't, depending on how long this video is going to get. But here, look into what it is here. But again, be careful. Like, quick assist or phoning. You may say, let's remove phoning, and then you install it on your brother's computer, and he's like, I tether my fucking Android to it all the time. I just became a teenager. So I remove it. MSN Weather. A lot of people use the Weather app on Windows. So leave it in. You have to know your audience. If this is just for you, you tailor-made it for you. But if this is something that you want the majority of people to use, you have to expect them using stuff you don't use. So I used to disable Outlook. And then if one of my co-worker needed it for his home computers, like, where's my Outlook? Where's my Spotify? Where's my Teams? Which all of that I removed for myself personally. Not Spotify, but the other ones. They require Teams. So you need to know your audience. You need to know your target audience. I see too many people making uninstalling script, optimizing script for Windows that is super personal. And then later on, people's like, why is this not working? So again, hey, you need to know what you're removing. Xbox app is actually really integrated into Windows in the form that a lot of game needs that. Media extension, you probably should not use that. But you can remove Bing search. You can remove Microsoft Office. Like, you can remove they have, like, recommended software and all that Candy Crush and all that shit. You can remove that in here so it never gets installed again, even after an update. The solitaire and casual games. Let's just say you have your own, like your company made the best calculator in the world. For internal use, Deborah fucking love that shit, okay? Deborah in accounting is like kissing you all over your face at the Christmas party because you made the perfect calculator for her. You can remove that here and end up in the post setup. You install set calculator. You get what I'm coming at here. But be aware, again here, you can remove stuff that can break Windows. But you get the idea here how much stuff you can actually remove. You can go into even with drivers. This is grayed out. I actually think you need to pay to do that. Hardware support. If it's grayed out, you even have to enable a setting. Or it's because it's a free version. But most of these things here, I will say localization, multimedia, networking you should leave alone. You could remove Internet Explorer. Let's say you do pre-install Chrome, you can remove Internet Explorer. And I think Internet Explorer is just them meaning Edge. But don't remove TFTP, or don't remove like the simple TCP IP services. You really need that one. Be aware. They are really good at allowing you to somewhat easily remove stuff that should not break your system, but it can, like remote access and privacy. In here, you can I will not say go nuts, but there's a lot of things in here you can remove, like remote desktop server. If you're not in a corporate setting, I would recommend removing that. The same remote assistance. But if you are a person that do, call or have your own tech support and they do remoting into your system quite a lot, you may not want that uninstalled. You have a lot of control, but like when you have a lot of control comes a lot of responsibilities too. Is it Uncle Ben that said that? You need to know what you're doing. Don't just say, "Oh, I don't like the sound of what this is saying and what the little description is saying, so I'm disabling it." If you want to disable something, of course, Solitaire disable, that's it. But if you want to disable something that seems like a core component, just do a short little Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo search and read like a 5-minute like highlight about that service or that software. What does it do? How critical is it to Windows? Because if you do like, what happens if I disable kernel debugging? Again, I don't know if that was the case in my case, why the computer's rebooted. I think it is, but I'm not sure. It may say, well, if you disable kernel debugging, it has no impact on the system, everything will run as it should. Oh, okay, I'm disabling kernel debugging. But you need to do your homework. The system map here, again, there's actually here we have a capture picker, email and accounts if you don't like that, Microsoft Family Safety if you don't want that, narrator. If I was making an ISO just for me, I will disable that one. But if I'm making an ISO that I again am giving to my friends they use for home, they may have another friend that they have to help them with a project that needs narrator and stuff like that. You get what I'm coming at here. The same here, you have Windows Hello. This one down here. You may not know what that is, so you say Windows Hello. And you can see here what it depends on printing. It actually explains quite a lot here with extra info, but let's just say, oh, here it depends on biometrics services and stuff. You're like, I don't have a fingerprint reader, so fuck that off. Then you get a new computer, you want to install that new computer have fingerprints or the Windows face recognition, you can't use it then. And now you start to blame Windows for being weird. No, you did it. So Windows Hello, for a lot of people, they don't even know that Windows Hello is the service or the program or whatever you call it that actually helps you log in. So Windows sets the PIN code, sets the face recognition and the fingerprint recognition. They're just like, oh, it must be some fucking annoying bugging Windows thing that on first boot up, because it sounds like something that would be like first boot, first login, Windows Hello, Sound like something that happens on first boot, which it kind of does. But Windows Hello is basically Windows login administration, funny enough. So I see a lot of people removing that, and I'm like, oh, just be happy that you're on a desktop. If you're on a desktop, remove it. You probably don't have a biometric scanner or like facial recognition scanner or fingerprint scanner, but you can set up a PIN code as far as I know without Windows Hello. And in here, like the schedule tasks, you can schedule tasks to do whatever you want and blah, 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 blah. Kind of makes sense. This is the one that a lot of people probably are spending the most part of. It's like the configuration part of Windows. So in here, you can, let's say, I know a lot of people that use a lot of Hyper-V stuff nowadays. You can activate that by default. You can activate Windows Subsystem for Linux by default. Some people will use Telnet clients. Yes, people still use that shit. Activate that, What else? Like container support if you want that. You can, if this is like a server SOS that you're making, container server, Active Directory, Lightweight Directory service, you can, you can go really, 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 really not future on demand capabilities. You can go like Qualcomm. So this is like drivers and stuff like that in here, or some of them are. You can spend hours just in this section. Like the next, like how many is it? Like 5 sections here. You can spend hours in each section. I'm not joking. Hours fine tuning, and you will make an ISO. I'll get that at the end. that you may need to redo. But again, here containers, device lockdown could be a good one. Custom log on, keyboard filters, self launcher or shell launcher, unbranded boot. Suppress Windows element that appear when Windows starts, resume and encounter uncoverable errors and blah blah blah. Like you really there's a lot of stuff in here I don't even know what it's doing. I just leave it alone. You know, media features, Windows Media Player Legacy app would probably be one you don't want. Like you can really streamline Windows. I have a mic in the way, so it's a little bit hard to see what's going on. Windows Search is probably one I will keep in there. Then we go into settings. This is where it gets really funny. Auto login tracing, crash control, auto reboot on proof screen of death. If you are a tinker, if you are one of those that love to, let's say you use this install of Windows to test stuff, you know, what happens if I do this in Windows backend, disable this, because then when you get a proof screen of death, it will stay there until you reboot it. So you can see the error codes and all that fancy shit. The same with dump stacking and write an event to the system log. Write debugging information instead of having it automatic Windows dump, just do enable, for example. You know, like the desktop is probably where a lot of people are going to spend a lot of time, because this is the one that you're interacting with the most. It's also the one where you can do most stuff without actually breaking any or much stuff. So we can look into some things that I like to do here. So accent color, you can set like if you want a different color scheme and stuff, like alt-tab style, animation effects. So if you click over here on the drop-down menu, there you go, you can disable it. That will speed up or give you a perceived notion of a speed improvement, because things takes, you know, instead of you have to wait for the animation to finish, just do it instantly. Like go back to the good old Windows 98, 95, kind of a little bit XP. The default wallpaper, when you set that, for example, like what should the default be? Should it be stretch, center, span? You know, classic context menu. Right click, you know, dark mode for apps. I sometimes by default just do enable, so it defaults to dark themes. Or dark mode for Windows is enabled. Desktop icon for control panel user file. Desktop icon size. This is one I also set quite a lot. So I set this to small, because I like small things apparently. Foreground lock timeout. Mouse menu delay. So when you click the mouse, there's actually a delay before the menu comes out. You can reduce that. That gives you a perceived notion of speed. On resume, there's like pinning on taskbar. So that little bar you see down here, you can actually do it so people can't pin anything in there. Which is, some organizations do that for some weird ass reason. Power options, or point options, sorry. Quiet hours, you can set them in here. So search taskbar icon. So that's the little one you have there. That's actually how I prefer it. I prefer the icon. Start layout, more pins. You can set that in here to, you know, default more recommendations. Taskbar alignment. You know, you can have labels, even size, even taskbar widget. You see, I don't have the widget out here that says the weather update, because I find it, because if you enable that, it also gives you a lot of fucking bullshit advertisement and stuff like that. So I typically, instead of having a default, I disable it, and then I have like a weather app shortcut either in the start menu. I don't know if here. Don't have a weather app shortcut here. Just click on it if I want weather updates. Teams install, you can say, I don't want Teams installed, I don't want it pinned and stuff like that. Like I said, like I said here, you can go on nuts in here. What is the other one we have? Event viewer. Again, here you need to know a little bit more what you're doing. Explore. So, you know, the file manager, customize it as much as you want. Enable preview pane by default. Show clock. I didn't know you could do that. Show drive letters, you can remove that if you want. I used to set up like the default view of folders in here. Networking, if you want to do some fancy networking stuff. Power controls, if you don't want fast up. If you don't want hibernation, disable it. You know. how much RAM percentage you wanted to use. You can limit that. You can even take it away from the start menu. So you have it enabled, but take it away from the start menu so a user can't, click shut down and hibernate, or what it's called. This is another one where you probably are going to spend a lot of time. It's at least a place I spend a lot of time. But it's also a place where you can fuck up a lot of things. And it's the privacy aspect here. And you can, allow telemetry. So I set it to security here. I actually think it reads some of the previous settings I've done because some of these are not default. You can go in here. Misspelling, that's not this one here. Basic, enhanced, full, take whatever the fuck you want. Security disable. I do that. I do that. Automatic installing of Response app. This is normally enabled. This is disabled here. And you can see here it says there's 3 additions that I fucked around with here. Automatically connect to hotspots temporarily to see if paid network services are available. You may not want that because there could be a free Wi-Fi network that, that could have potentially some security issues. So you may want to take that off. Disable it open here. Here, automatically install suggested apps. Disable that motherfucker. Clipboard history, you probably want that. Here, display last username on screen. Pre-installed apps, disable that. Pre-installed OEM apps, unless you really want that. Here, show me suggestions content in the settings app. I don't like that so much sometimes. This is the one you really want. Windows Copilot and Recall. I know a lot of people don't like Recall. Every time I install Windows, Recall is going to be there. Not anymore, my friends, because if you do this, you can take it away. I use Copilot a lot for coding advice or coding help because it's just fast at getting the help I need. So let's say I forgot what is polymorphism in C#. Copilot is amazing. Just explain polymorphism in C# and it will give you a super great fucking explanation with links to the source and everything. Or let's say you're a beginner, AI is really good at teaching you basic development or basic anything. And you're how do I declare a public string, or how do I make a global variable, or stuff like that. You can use Copilot for that. So it is helpful for some people. If you do any IT, I use it for, if I forget, where is the setting in Windows? I just ask Copilot, where is this setting in Windows, and it will tell me where it is. It's faster than Googling it, basically. So I use it as a simple Google search replacement. And that's what you should use AI for. A simple Google search replacement. Because it is faster and better in most instances at finding the information. You can also, Spotlight. I don't know why I have that enabled. I should have disabled that one also. Tips and suggestions. You can go nuts there. And I'm spending a lot of time in these sections because a lot of people will spend a lot of time in these sections. In start menu, app list, list recently added apps. I don't like that. I disabled that. You can even disable folders. You don't want to see it. You can disable it again. Power buttons, blah, 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 blah. User tiles. Again, go nuts, man. Go nuts. Backup, disk quota, if you like, again, could be neat for some, let's say, friends at work. For some friends at work. Here's one that I do. Local user account setup support. Enable that one because it allows you to make make a local user account. The page file. You can go in here and manipulate the page file, and that's all I'm going to say because if you don't know what that is, you should not be in there. You can, ready boot, remote desktop. Here, this is some things you may also want to edit, which you can see I have done. So it apparently do read my previous state. I disabled the RAM requirement. Now I can install Windows 11 on 1 gig of RAM if I want to. TPM and secure boot, both on system and as the host. Don't need that anymore. I can install Windows 11 on any machine right now. So you can see here, Microsoft account is default. If you want to, you can disable that. So that means that you can actually log into any Microsoft account. You can schedule tasks here. You can TCP user account control. Let's the little window pop up. Click yes, no. Windows Defender if you want to go in and fuck around in there. You can even fuck around with Windows updates. We go in here to services. Again, I'm not going to diagnostic services and whatnot. In here is where you can remove a lot of the telemetry BS that Microsoft have. You can have services that is set to run automatically that you may want to do manually. Like you can streamline Windows quite a lot in here. Extra services, including boot critical and driver services, mainly removed with components. This is a place where I'm like, I don't myself fuck around in there too much, if at all. And unless you have a really, really good reason to do it, just like with the Registry edit, don't go in there, okay? Unattended. This is where you're also going to set up a lot of things. Spend a lot of time, but this is also a place where you can, in my case, make an ISO you can't even add a user to. So it installs Windows without you doing anything. It just installs Windows and you get into the login screen and there's no user. You can't log in basically because I disable a lot of things you shouldn't disable. But go nuts in here. Well, not go nuts, but customizing. You can set like localization, time zone if you want to set that up, folder location, OEM information. You need to enable, like, you can have your own little, I don't know if you can remember that, but back in the day, if you bought a Dell computer, if you went into settings, they would have that little Dell logo. You can put in the manufacturer, the model, support hours. You can have all that information. Out of the box experience. This is again doing the install, where a lot of you guys and girls is probably going to spend or want to do some customization. Skip the end user license agreement. I have, in my experience, only had bad experience with that, so I will leave that alone. This one here, skip local account setup. If you want to make a local account, which 99% of us want, false. Skip online account setup. This is doing the install process. True. You can also skip wireless. You can also skip network. You can also skip get going fast. I will not recommend messing with any other things than these two here. What this does is it takes away the requirement of having a Windows Microsoft account to set up the system. So in a lot of the latest versions, if you boot up your ISO, you get to the user creation, it is like sign in with your Microsoft account. And I get some people don't like that. I don't particularly like it either, but I'm a little bit neutral. I see the benefit of it, so I'll probably make a video about that, but I also see why some people don't like it. This is how you do it, unless you have to like press a F key and then type in a command and reboot and do all those things. If you do this, it won't even ask you. All it will ask you to do is set up a local account. And then when you set up the local account, you log into Windows, you go into Account Manager, and then you can add in your Microsoft account or your work account or business, whatever it is, if you so choose so. Fucking around with the other ones, especially like the skip getting going fast, the Windows Welcome Center, and the end user license agreement. Every time I've done that, I had a mixed rate of success. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. So I recommend only doing these two. And you know what? Let them do the fucking welcome shit. You only have to watch it once anyway. Specialization. Can I just do this? There you go. Skip auto activation. You may or may not want that. You can put in the product key, so it can auto register. You can input local system locals, UI locals. You can set all of that up if you want to. UI language. Report installation statistics. This is like send it to Microsoft. Probably want that false. Enable dynamic updates. I would recommend that one. You can even compress Windows. And here again, skip the user license. I will keep that. Full computer name and prefix. So let's say you have like a set username. You can use that. Here's the product key set up. So in here you can, like I said, if you have like the product, it will actually explain to you down here what it does. So if you have the product key on the BIOS, you can just enable that so it automatically fetches it, which my ISO does. So again, like I said here, it enables some things on my previous selection, but not all of them. So I have set it up so if my computer have a license for Windows, it will try and use that to activate Windows when I install it. So a lot of times, most computers the last 5-ish years probably have a license built into the BIOS somewhere. And as long as you're installing the right version of Windows, let's say your computer came with Home and you're installing Home, you should not have a problem. If it came with Professional, I think you can still install Home, but I would just like run the version of Windows that it came with. You sometimes can use a Home license key for Professional. It depends on whatever the fuck it is, OEM and stuff like that. But you get the idea that I'm hopefully conveying here. So like this configure here is where you are going to spend a lot of time. Updates, get that in. Get the latest updates, it will just save you a lot of time. Yes, the initial making of the ISO is going to take a longer because it's downloading the updates, installing them on the ISO, and so on and so forth. But it just means that every time you install a computer, you don't have to sit and wait for like 2 years of updates or something stupid like that. It's done. You do this once instead of every time you set up a computer. So the initial creation of the ISO is going to take longer by downloading online updates. But it's only once, okay? And then you have to... That's why I do it once a year. That means that worst case scenario, I'm a year behind on updates. Not 2 or 2.5 or 3 years. I used to do it every 6 months. But I don't install that many computers at the moment, so I'm just doing it once a year right now. The registry, stay out of that post setup. Unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah. Remove components. The obvious one... Solitaire, Teams, if you don't need that. Yeah, but don't try and be fancy, okay? The configuration here, like I said, is where you're going to spend most of the time. Probably in settings, features, unintended, maybe a little bit in services. Because what you do in services, you can make a script that disable that in services on your Windows machine. So it's not too big of a fucking issue. And then you go into apply here, and then you can do like you have to tick this create ISO, and it will tell you where do you want to put the ISO and blah blah blah. Even on a high-end computer, this is just a tiny little laptop that I'm using. This takes about, on this laptop here, it takes 20-30-ish minutes, I think, to make an ISO the way that I'm doing it here. If you have like I have like a R7 or R9, R7, i9, it's probably faster. But no matter how powerful, unless you have like a fucking massive server farm or supercomputer, it is going to take some time. And you will have bars that will be like, oh my god, is it even doing anything? The ISO probably also is going to be bigger than you think, unless you'll be moving a lot of stuff, okay? And then when you have made the ISO, you have created the ISO. See here, it asks me where I want it. Always use it. Use it at least once. So if you have a spare laptop, it's probably the best way of doing it with like an old computer, an old laptop, because you will have all kind of different hardware that is unique to that computer versus doing it in a VM that just tries to do generic hardware. So a VM is really good at testing anything but hardware. So if you're not fucking around with the hardware aspect, like enabling drivers, removing drivers, but you're spending most of your time in here in the features, settings, services, and unattended, if that's where the only place you really do any customization, yeah, do it in a VM. But at least do one successful install with the created ISO. You will fuck it up at some point. The first one you make may work, the second one may not work. You go back a year, 6 months, 2 months later, you have, oh, this is really bugging me, I want this out of Windows, and you take that out and you figure out, oh, it's not working. So at least have one successful install where you go around and test some stuff out in the OS. Again, this ended up being a long one. Hope you're all well and happy. See you all later. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.